All right, now for our speaker. Robin is a medium, healer, and a teacher here at Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp. And she has a background in being a salesperson, customer service representative, and IT application specialist. She brings all of this expertise to her role since 2019 as the administrative assistant here at the camp office. Oh, she wears many hats and takes care of many aspects of the camp's administration needs. And she often helps people who inquire on the phone about what the camp is all about and what the term spiritualist means. She has been a spiritualist herself for many decades and teaches here at the camp. She enjoys teaching a class called Becoming a Spiritualist Development Class and is a certified evaluator for student mediums. And I'm very happy to say that she is my certified evaluator. Please help me in welcoming Robin Matutino as today's speaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra. Thank you to all you ladies. You do such a marvelous job, just have to say. Good morning. It's so nice to see all your smiling faces here this morning. I'm going to talk a little bit about my own story this morning, but I also want to let you know that there's messages that have come through while I've been preparing my talk that are for all of you. And I'm going to share with you that one of Spirit's messages that I'm always amazed at how beautifully the chairperson's meditation goes along with. She had no idea what I'm going to say. So she did a beautiful job of talking about that it's time. It's a new beginning. And so keep that in mind as I share with you some of the things that I'm going to share with you this morning. Healing is prime time right now. It's about healing of the self and about being a time for claiming your most authentic self. This is for all of us. So now's the time to step up and choose your most authentic self. It's this time of the year, the beautiful Christmas decorations and light, that the world celebrates the return of light. We just had our solstice moon circle last night. It was a beautiful ceremony to recognize the day of the year when the dark is more prevalent than the light. But from today forward, every day, we gain 30 more minutes of light. So it's the returning of the light to our world as well. So I would say in Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and joy to whatever tradition it is that you follow now. It's the celebration of that inner light returning to our hearts and to expanding that is so beautiful about this season. In the founding of the Southern Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp back in 1894, the phenomenon of spiritualism and its demonstration of the continuity of life by the mediums introduced into modern society a period of consciousness raising. And I believe that we're there again with humanity here in 2024. It's been quite the year, I'm sure you would all agree. 2024, we have seen a lot of change, a lot of strife and stress, as well as a lot of beginning for some beautiful new things that are coming into our world. There's a lot of endings. If you're interested in astrological forecasting, you know what I'm talking about. Major cycles are coming to end right now, and new ones are beginning. So we truly are living in a very exciting time to be on the planet, and may I just say that it's an honor to be on the planet at the same time with all of you, because each of us has a role to play in the producing of this new world that we're going into. Astrologers advise that major planetary shifts and cycles are changing for the first time in our lifetimes. That's how long it's been since some of these energies that we will all be subject to are changing in major ways. And so while we're opening up for a new way of the Aquarian energies to begin, 2025 is the year of the snake, and it symbolizes a time that each one of us is shedding the skin of a former version of ourselves. So step out in faith as the most authentic version of yourself or of ourselves emerges that we could possibly be. It's right in line with where we are in the year. I honor spiritualism and its roots, but one of the things that I've always been drawn to about Cassadaga is that there are so many different forms of spiritual study that have shaped the beliefs and the practices of the people that are drawn here. And so we get to learn so much from each other. I'm also drawn to the healing aspects of spiritualism, combined with much more in the world of spirituality and consciousness. It's bigger. My story is not so very different from many others, and that have taken on the task of making the decision to develop yourself from a perspective of your spirituality. Cassadaga Spiritualist Camp has played a huge part in my life for a long time, and I can completely agree that far-reaching change is absolutely the outcome of my personal spiritual journey that began back in the late 80s. From the beginning, I feel I was drawn here. I was led here. There was a deeper reason and a desire for me to be here. And part of that was wanting to understand what it is that it's in all of us, that you can feel it, we can all feel that there's something greater about the human being than we've been led to believe. And that's what I've been searching for many years within myself. I was also drawn here to find some answers to the nagging questions that we all ask, is who am I and why am I here? Something that I've come to enjoy immensely here in Cassadaga is when several people decide to meet on a regular basis and sit in normally a circle and come together for the purposes of developing their own higher awarenesses, their own ability to communicate with spirit through mediumship. I particularly love sitting with people with the intent for sitting for spiritual healing. When I first found Cassadaga and began trying to understand my own higher spiritual self, I was struggling with a lot of past emotional trauma, and I needed and I wanted to understand the spirit phenomenon that was occurring and had been occurring around me for a long time, from a very young age. Spirit began to get my attention when I was in my early teens, and I started to realize that when I was in a relaxed, almost sleepy frame of mind, that information would begin to flow into my consciousness, that if I simply repeated what I heard, that it would somehow be useful to the person who had just spent time telling me all of the things that were troubling them in their life. Someone gifted me a deck, and I learned to read tarot. I actually came easy, too easy, in fact, because it kind of scared me back then that it was so accurate. But, again, it brought to my mind the question is, what's talking to me? Where am I? How have I it became my mission, actually, to discover what it is that allowed me to know the words to say. Often what was said would impress me, even because I was not sure how I knew that information and where it had come from just a minute prior. Where did it come from? My heart was drawing me in a big way to understand angels, and that's a whole nother conversation about. I've spent a considerable amount of my life learning and working with angelic energies. The day after Thanksgiving in about the late 80s, 1988, I believe, a friend brought me to Cassadaga for the first time. And after an amazing set of circumstances unfolded to convince me that that was no accident, I started coming over and over very often. I had no idea at that time how much change I was about to experience. We all have multifaceted lives. I was no different than any other working mother doing it all. I was beginning to sit in a development class. I had a full-time, high-stress job. I was raising 2 young kids, and I was married to someone who deeply resented that I was actually beginning to heal. Developing stronger self-esteem and practicing meditation and affirmation work is how I was doing that. When I started what was occurring, and I found that many ignorant and uneducated people, well-meaning, wanted to save my soul because they did not understand Cassadaga, or that the local folklore that they've heard is not true, but it did color their opinions. So there was resistance, is my point, in the atmosphere around me to my own desire to know my authentic self. Sitting in a development class week after week and daily spiritual commitments to sitting in silence was beginning to help me to trust that Spirit is always talking to us. And as I was recovering my own sense of authentic self, simultaneously it was completely heartbreaking to know that the one that you love does not want to see you heal. That's part of the spiritual healing, in my experience, that part of the spiritual healing journey, although it can provide beautiful, affirming experiences, is sometimes a very lonely path to walk. I've been a lifelong artist. I've used many different mediums, but painting is my favorite. And while living with the intent to open spiritually and to use my art in service to Spirit, I was inspired to begin to paint mandalas. So most of my art is now Spirit-inspired. And at some point around 2000, I met my late husband and began to immerse myself in the spiritual aspects of music, frequency, and vibrational energy, much like the beautiful bowls that Sandra played during her meditation, and the effect that sound of musical instruments and sound in general can affect the frequency and vibration of our bodies. This led me to understanding that the cycles that shape our lives, and it was during this period of time that I could not find the group that I wanted to be with. So Spirit impressed upon me to start my own monthly moon circle meeting for women that wanted to participate in a twice monthly new moon and full moon focused on a healing ceremony that focuses on holding a sacred space at that time for women to embrace the divine feminine. We actually still do that moon circle, and it's open to all people who want to sit in that circle. It's no longer just for women. My heart was telling me that I was meant to help people and to have help them to have their own spiritual experiences. I was guided from an inner place, deep within my own being, to explore mediumship and healing from a serious perspective. So the more I practiced meditation and prayer and journaling and seeking teachers of various backgrounds, I began to recognize that the divinity within grew I grew as a person. So sadly, once again, when you begin to grow as a person, sometimes you will receive resistance from those around you. And sadly, those that benefit from you in your, what I would call small, unconscious state, begin to get upset with that. But I would encourage you to stay with it. Stay with the healing of your own heart, because the rewards are well worth anyone who's going to walk away from you for being in that state of wanting to develop yourself. So relationships with friends and partners and children, even coworkers, often change form because one person has grown and changed, but the other has chosen not to. My experience has been that spiritual healing is often, as I said earlier, can be a life-changing occurrence, but it can also be a lonely road to walk until you find your tribe, and you will. Because those that leave your life open a space for the ones to come in that are nurturing and loving and a part of your development. And they're your real family, in my opinion. So it opens that space. Primarily, I noticed the difference in myself with interactions with other people and my ability to communicate effectively. Where I have seen tremendous advantage in this development is the success I achieved outside the world of Cassadaga in my professional life. With learning that everyone has a unique personality. Now, Sandra mentioned some of the things that I had done, and one of those was the management of an information technology help desk. Now, if you've ever had to call a help desk, you know that most people don't really love those people. They don't really love having to do that. But after we worked together with a process of healing our team, and how we did that was we used a tool that assessed our personalities and our communication styles. And we all sat together, and what I watched in this healing team was that everyone was willing to participate. They were willing to take the exam. They were willing to calculate their type, and then they were willing to share with each other what they just discovered about themselves. So we could discover with each other's style of communication. And what that did was it stopped the mismatch of communication that had occurred when we didn't really understand each other. We really weren't paying attention to each other's style. As a leader, I'm serving the needs of my team, and in my spiritual healing practice, I'm serving spirit and the physical, mental, and emotional. And in my traditional career, as I said, I've made it a practice to meet people where they are, not where I want them to be, not where I wish them to be or I think they should be, but where they are. A spiritual healing took place on that team because we were willing to examine that and identifying our particular personality types. We were beginning to understand what motivated each other and what frustrated each other. And by better communication and cooperation, we improved our focus, and we stayed focused on the goals of the team rather than judging each other's particular personality, or by respecting that no one person on that team was any more important than any other team member. As a result, this team accomplished worldwide recognition in achieving a higher customer service satisfaction rating than the products they supported. And in that world, that's a big deal. They were featured in a national magazine for the fact that this particular phenomenon had occurred with this people, because people were interested in how we accomplished that. Spiritual healing is a practice that requires recognition of the fact, in my opinion, that we are infinite spiritual beings having brief human experiences, and that our attitudes and our beliefs and traumas actually produce effects in the physical body, but changing our attitudes can heal them. So to be able to choose my own wholeness, that I've had to let go of relationships and spouses and partners and friends that are very negative and unwilling to accept me as a more healed version of myself, it seems to be because I was no longer as easy to manipulate. You might want to think about that in your own relations with people. The payoff for people staying around you when you heal changes, and they leave, and that's okay. My passion is in facilitating a space where healing can come through from the realm of spirit, from the angels and the spirit doctors, with the intent of all who are in the room and our shared energies. We create a sacred space. I've been impressed by Spirit very specifically this past year to do more of my authentic self, to be more of my authentic self, and to work with Spirit the way I do it. People will always have the opinion and judgments to make and by listening to their criticisms rather than consider it as advice, and sometimes there's no merit to that, we will allow people to implant fear about how and when we will express our own heart's messages. Everyone is unique, and Spirit works with each of us as the way they work with each of us. There are no limitations to Spirit, and the truth is we are all eternal spiritual beings. My passion is not only in serving Spirit of those who have crossed over, but I've been impressed from a very young age to feel the energies and the vibrations of the angelic beings and the nature beings that share our world, and let them and ask them and invite them to help us in this world. After much personal growth and development and through working on my own inner healing, I still consider a work in progress. I've completed the SCSCMA certification and process, as Sandra told you earlier, as a certified healer and medium. And after I was given permission to teach here, I've always had the intent to serve Spirit as my primary work. I'm working toward that. Every cell of my being has the feeling that that change is here, and that we're all going to experience a lot of change in 2025. But keeping balance in the body, mind, and spirit is my priority. I recently, by the generosity of a friend, secured a private space here in the camp where I will now be available to see people for private consultations, and in that way begin to serve in a different way, something that I feel ready to step into as part of my overall service to others. And it's my great joy to be able to facilitate, as Sandra told you, I facilitate a spiritual development circle for others that want to develop their own sensitivities. My Sunday evening class is taking a break right now, but we'll be back at the beginning of the year, and we're going to focus on spiritual healing this time. So it's my honor to be a part of the beautiful development of the participants that show up every week for my class. I'm never constantly humbled by the people who show up and participate. And it is my honor to be a part of the beautiful development of their latent spiritual senses and skills as they discover them for themselves. It's always such a wonderful experience to be part of that. And it is truly the case that something larger than the sum of its parts occurs there. A large part of what I intend to facilitate in my events is a creation of that sacred space for participants to work with Spirit and to work with each other. So it's also my great pleasure to facilitate the monthly sacred alchemy moon circles. It's a huge joy in my life, has been for many years, to facilitate that circle. And learning to pay attention to the cycles and the seasons and working with commitment to the spiritual practice that recognizes the time for completion, a new creation, and new beginnings. It has helped me considerably to connect with my own higher spiritual nature. I've been in communication with Spirit on a daily basis for decades. Spirit has used every known method of speaking to me and has tried of the tried and true methods that have been used over the years, and even thrown in a few new channels to deliver this message, and that is that it's time to step up and be a leader for those who are searching for what I am able to provide. I'm certain that there are some of you sitting here this morning that are being inspired to step up as well in whatever aspect of your life that is. I would encourage you to bloom where you are. It's that time to step into your authentic self again and be who you truly are. On December the 18th, just a few days ago, we marked 130 years of the SCSCMA incorporation, and we're still meeting in some of the same facilities as our history's spiritualists were meeting in together over 130 years ago. So one of my goals is to inspire more participation in the camp. We need to come together more in more unity and light. Our spiritualist principles we read together this morning, and a couple of them come to mind that remind us that the doorway to reformation is never closed, and that we do unto others as we would have them do unto us. So every one of us is a product of every experience that we've had up to this moment. You cannot know what has brought someone to their current state. So let us offer grace to each other and to hold a heart full of love as the essence of our being. You will not only change your world, but you'll quite simply heal the hearts of those that you assist. Imagine coming together in a community to dream up new ways of being and to include everyone as a worthy soul being and a unique role to play in this shared experience that we're all sharing. The age of Aquarius marks an incredible shift toward higher forms of communications and forming closer communities by fostering unity in our community and to provide service to others. That's the bottom line, is we're providing service to others. That sounds like a pretty lofty goal, but Spirit has been very clear to me anyway that this is the year that I begin to be of more service in a visible manner. In closing, I want to share with you a few of the healing principles that I have learned here in the camp, in a class in the camp many years ago, and it changed my attitude forever. What helped me to get to this point in my own healing is to follow the notion that there are only two emotions, either love or fear. We can choose love. The essence of our being is love. Health is inner peace, and healing is letting go of fear. Giving and receiving are the same. We can let go of the past and of the future. Now is the only time there is, and each instant is forgiving. We can learn to love ourselves and others by forgiving rather than judging. We can become love finders rather than fault finders. We can choose and direct ourselves to be peaceful inside regardless of what's happening outside. We are students and teachers to each other. We can focus on the whole of life rather than its fragments. And since love is eternal, death need not be viewed as fearful. We can always perceive others as either loving or fearful, as either giving a call for help or for love. Humbly, I thank infinite intelligence for giving me the words and symbols as clearly as possible, and I ask the ancestor spirits, the nature spirits, the devas of the planet Earth, for filling this temple with our divine spirit of love and for the healing energies. We open our hearts and minds to accept and to receive your loving messages. I thank many in the angelic realm for infusing this space in all directions of time in order to heal and uplift each of us. And if you would put your hand on your heart, I would ask that you please take a moment and feel love within your own heart from your heart and invite your source within you, your highest self, to speak to you clearly as you go through the rest of your day today. And may your holidays be the joy of light and love that you've all dreamed of. Thank you.